What is up, fantasy HLTV enjoyers? It's time for the NA RMR to kick off in a couple of days. I'm going to be casting it as well. So I've been keeping a keen eye on things, the stats, the teams, and all that good stuff. And I've came up with a team here, as you can see on your screen. I'm going to explain that in a moment, just to discuss how the previous one went. I finished in the top, I think it was 45%, if I'm not mistaken. I was a second EU RMR. Yabi completely wrecked me, minus 11 points. I know that Astralis wrecked a lot of people. Because obviously they were very, very disappointing, and so the future for that team was pretty uncertain at this stage. But Yabi was pretty dire. I thought he was great value for money, didn't end up being the case, but this is the nature of the beast. So through into the NARMR side of things, we do have the first matchups already available for us. So it's going to be Furia take on Nouns, Complexity against Elevate, MIBR against Boss, M80 against Odic, Pain take on Legacy, Red against Wildcard, Bestia against Liquid, and finally Imperial against the stand-ins NRG, who obviously came in with a bunch of things with Rocket, which obviously we won't get into just yet. But with those opening matchups, it's given me a couple of different opinions on who I should go for. I was thinking of going for some Furia plays, but I just couldn't really fit them in the team. Fury's a bit of a strange one in terms of the pricing here. You can see Kesarate was up at 223, then Yuri 211, Cello 209, Fall on 202, Art 196. I went back and forth on this. I think, to be honest, Furia will make it through and probably quite easily, but I think really you're looking at Yuri or Kesarato, maybe Cello at a push. Because I don't think Full and Art are going to post up big numbers, and they're a little bit on the expensive side. So I've decided to not go for them. Plus, I think Nouns could potentially be a bit of a difficult first game with best of ones and all the usual, caveats and asterisks and whatnot. So I've gone for Complexity, very heavy into Complexity, because I have full faith in them to actually make it through. Their first game against Elevate, I think, should be fairly straightforward for them in that 1-0 bracket. Additionally, they come into this in pretty good form, and although Elige is very expensive at 230, I have complete confidence in his abilities to get it done at the NA RMR. I think he's going to pop off here. Floppy is a really good pick as well, I think, for 208. Plus, when I'm looking at their side stats as well, it was between Floppy and Grim. I was really thinking back and forth of which of these two I was going to pick up, because Grim is a bit cheaper and not completely useless. Grim's a very good player in his own right, but it seems much easier to pick supportive rounds for Floppy at 24.7 than it is for Grim on 20.7, plus the positions that Floppy plays I think is going to allow him a pretty straightforward supportive role element, so that's another reason I went for Floppy. I think Complexity should breeze through this fairly comfortably and get it done. Cadian for 197 was just too good a price for me to pass up on. I know Liquid have had their problems with the whole IEM Dallas situation. They've had a couple of bad losses, people are memeing on them, etc. But I still think that they are big game players, and I think Cadian in particular is somebody that when he's in pressure situations like this is where he really thrives. Plus, you also have him as an AWPer. He does get quite a few AWP kills. He's not the greatest of AWPs, obviously, but it's pretty easy to put the AWP roll on him, as he's going to bag you a 0.32 rating with the AWP. And it just felt like he was way too cheap. Like, even with Liquid's issues, I would have thought he'd be 200 plus K, considering some of the prices of these other players. I think Liquid will make it through. I couldn't justify double stacking them as well because of the prices. I went for Vinny from Imperial because I think Imperial could actually do pretty well, and Vinny's been playing well recently. I've casted him quite a few times actually in the lead up to the RMRs, and I've been very impressed with him. Additionally, 190k, you can't argue with those prices. And then finally, I went for Nekis from Legacy, 175k. I think he's quite a good price as well. I think Legacy, they have players like Cold Zero, etc. on the team. But, you whack a noob on him, and more often than not, he is going to bottom frag. But I could see Legacy maybe getting some wins. For example, they're against Pain in that first matchup, and I think it is sided towards Pain, but I could definitely see Legacy getting a win there. And doing quite well in this tournament. So I felt pretty good about picking Nekis up, but obviously the bulk of my funds are going to be going into Complexity and to Liquid to a lesser degree. So I'm fully on board the Complexity hype train. I think that realistically, at least 4 of these 5 should score decently for me, and I don't think Nekis is going to drop off the edge of a map like Yabi did, for example. So I'm pretty confident about this. So I'll buy that team there. And then let's have a look at some of the roles. We're obviously going to go for AWP on Cadian. I'm kind of flipped between these two in terms of who I'm going to go for support, because you can see that Vinny actually has slightly better supportive stats, but also his CT&T rating is slightly better. They're playing a lesser opposition more often than not, so that also comes into the fray. I think, to be fair, I think I might go for supportive role on Floppy. For Elige, let's have a quick look here. His T stats are very strong. Entry stats are very strong. I think we might go T side on this, especially if they're getting like, Ancients and Anubis and these kind of maps. That's where I expect that Elige is going to pop off pretty well. We'll go for, obviously, Noob on Nekis, and then finally for Vinny, it's a bit more difficult. I might go CT rating for Vinny, to be fair. I think we'll just go play it relatively safe. We'll go for CT rating on Vinny. So that is our lineup. Do you agree or disagree? Comment in the section below and let me know your thoughts on what your team is. I found this a bit of a difficult one because the prices were a little bit all over the place. But because of the fact that Liquid haven't been playing lights out recently, some of the players are lower, and I felt like it was a bit of a steal to go for Cadian as a cheap AWP option. Anyway, I'll catch you next video, guys. Good luck.